Welcome to the Maine Famous podcast. I'm your host, April Shaw-Beaudoin, and today I'm sitting down with Chef Sara Jenkins of 9 June Restaurant. Sara was recently named as a James Beard semi-finalist for Best Chef in the Northeast, and her restaurant is one of the most special places here in the Midcoast, and really all of Maine. It's a place you go into and you don't want to leave. And that's not even getting into the food and the wine list. I'm really excited to share this conversation, and we'll get to it in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Simon Griffiths, President and CEO of Camden National Bank. Camden National Bank is celebrating 150 years of standing beside the people, businesses, and communities that make Maine and New Hampshire home. And at the heart of it all is you. Every step of the way has been made possible because of your support. Even as we have grown, one thing has remained: our deep commitment to the communities we serve. We're not just here to offer financial guidance. We're here to show up, lend a hand, and be a true partner through life's big moments and everyday milestones. We're especially grateful to Maine Famous for shining a light on the local businesses and neighbors who shape the heart of Maine. Thanks for being part of our story.
Thanks so much for coming on the show, Sara.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're going to jump into a lot of topics today, but first I want to share a little story. So I moved to Camden in 2020, back when the pandemic was going on, and my son was starting 8th grade that year at the middle school, and he was very nervous, and he came home the first day and he said, "Oh, I made a new friend today," and it was Nadir. Nadir is Sara's son, for those of you who don't know. And I got to learn a little bit about him through Colin for like the next few weeks. And one day I went to go pick them up from school. And you live pretty close to the school, but it was raining. So I brought them home and I had them in the car and I said, "Oh, Nadir, I heard that you lived in New York for a while. Like, where were you in New York?" I was fully expecting Upper New York somewhere. And he's like, "Oh, Manhattan." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "I heard your mom works at 9 June. That's such a nice restaurant, I hear." And he's like, "Yeah, well, she owns 9 June." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." But he was so low key and so cool and so sweet.
Oh, that's good. He's a pleasure.
Yeah. And he and Colin have been friends for years and years now.
That's
and
great. It
was just so nice that there was a boy that was nice on the first day of school to someone who's starting.
Yeah. I tried to raise him that way.
But we have a lot to talk about with regard to 9 June. You were just named a semi-finalist by James Beard for Best Chef in the Northeast. And I know that's not the first time you've been nominated, but...
No, but it's always exciting. It's always exciting, And I mean, it always brings attention, which is really, really great. So yes, now I'm in like countdown mode till the end of March.
And that's when
you basically move forward or don't.
Okay. So are you losing any sleep about it, or what's your
No, but
feeling?
every once in a while, there's a lot of people in that category, and they're not even all just from Maine. They're from all over the place, and they're all really qualified. And there's a million reasons why any one of us could move forward or not move forward. So it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. We had Michael Boland, who has Havana. He is not a chef, but he's very good at managing restaurants.
Right.
And Havana was named as a semi-finalist for best restaurant in the country, I think.
Right.
And he was saying, he's like, I had this moment of like total imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And then I was like, actually, I do deserve this.
Right.
Do you have any of that?
No, I don't have imposter syndrome for this level. It's hard to believe that I would make it to the next level. I mean, again, the competition's just so strong and out there.
Do you know a lot of the other chefs who are nominated?
No, not really. I'm trying to think. I know who the Portland people are, but no, not a lot of them.
I want to know, and there's so many things, so I'm going to have to like rein myself in. Do you go on little excursions? I know you go to Europe and you eat in Europe. Are there any places on a yearly basis that you're like, I want to go try a couple of restaurants?
I definitely try as hard as I can to try as many places out in Maine, just because I want to see what other people are doing. I went up to Aragosta last year at the beginning of the season, and that was amazing. I try to eat out in Portland sometimes. In January, we're usually closed for a couple weeks. I try, but it's hard. I'm up here mostly, and then when I leave and go to Europe.
Yes.
I don't even really go to New York that much anymore.
Okay.
It's been over a year since I've been in New York.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And you grew up in Italy for a while.
I grew up all over overseas.
Okay.
So my father was a foreign correspondent and my mother came from Camden, Maine. They met in New York. I was born in Camden, Maine, and they went overseas almost immediately. And in 1971, we were living in Beirut and they had friends who had bought this small house in a town in Tuscany with no running water and it was, the houses were a dime a dozen. They were all falling apart. None of them had running water or electricity or anything like that. And so they went to visit these friends.
That sounds so exciting.
Right? And, they got up in the morning and the friend was like, that house there is for sale. That house there is for sale. And mind you, this was 1971. So $5,000 was a lot more money, but that's what they bought the house and the land for. And I said to my parents once, you should have planted olives. This was before they had. We could be olive oil barons. And my dad was like, I should have borrowed every penny I could and bought every house I could. The funny thing is, it's almost come full cycle. Italy is now full of houses that need some work in towns that people have moved out of. And so you can actually find houses not for $5,000, but there's something I follow on Instagram, like my cheap home in Italy or something like that. And they've got things all over, for under $100,000. Now you have to put work into it and living in Italy is more complicated and all of that, but it's out there. And then we moved to Italy in 1975. My dad was posted there and he stayed for the next 20 years or so.
Wow.
I came back to go to boarding school when I was 15 and that was...
Was it your choice?
Not really. And that was a shock. I went to Gould Academy. So I came from Rome to Gould. And the biggest thing, and this is really, I always say why I became a chef, I didn't recognize any of the food. I would come and visit Maine and we would eat fried clams and lobster and my grandparents were good, solid home cooks. But I wasn't of an age where I was really thinking about food or what I ate. There was, what I liked that was put on the table and that was great. And when I came to Western Maine, there was no olive oil in the supermarket of any kind whatsoever. Wow. And I used to bring home olive oil from Italy and I would get rice from the cafeteria and I would put olive oil and lemon on it and that would be my meal. So yeah, I had to start learning how to cook to recreate. And of course, that was the early 80s. There was maybe in New York, there was like Italian food going on, like what I grew up eating, but certainly not up here. And up here for a long time, it was great fun to come up here and eat fried clams and lobsters, but there wasn't much else. And it was really when Long Grain opened that I started noticing that things were going on in Maine. There was produce and there were people and there was interesting food and things and people were enjoying it,
And you opened Nina June in 2016.
In 2016,
after running 2 restaurants in New York City.
So one was really kind of a small sandwich place, and neither of them survived COVID, which was okay. I can't imagine trying to go back and forth between both places during COVID.
No.
Yeah.
So this is the 10th year.
This is our 10th year. Now we're kind of starting to talk about of course we're going to have a party.
Yes.
But 2020 was my 10th year at Porcena in New York, and I laid all these plans. I was going to have a guest chef every month, and I was going to do all this stuff, and then COVID came, and so I'm like, I don't know, if I plan too much, what will I draw down, So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out with my own, what is that, superstitions.
Yes, I feel that.
Yeah.
What is the biggest lesson you've learned running a restaurant in the Midcoast of Maine in those 10 years?
It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard, and it's the seasonality. You know, I came up here a little with the fantasy that I could just close in the winter and go away. And then, of course, you know, my kid, we came up here, he was in 4th grade. And of course, pulling him out of school for 2 months wasn't possible. But also, you know, it's so hard to get employees, and they can't necessarily afford not to work in the winter. You know, you lose all your employees if you do that and start from scratch again. And 9 of June's not really a restaurant to start from scratch. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of knowledge that I want my staff to have. And ultimately, the cycle of work here, too, is that I can't really afford to shut down for 2 months, even though the winter is grim. You're kind of like, oh my God, you know, how am I going to pay that bill? It's still better because you still have to pay all those bills, right?
Yeah.
So it's better to be open. And I always say, you know, the winter time is the time to do the things that we don't have time to do in the summer. So like we've been doing these dinners, like picking themes. My chef Dustin went to Mexico and January break, and so he did a one night in Oaxaca. And then the Camden conference's theme was Arab, the Middle East, and we decided to do a Palestinian night. Kind of, they initially hadn't included any Palestinians on the conference, and we're like, well, that's a little weird. I mean, they are there. And so we did that, and that was really fun. And this Wednesday we're doing itameshi, which is a fusion of Italian Japanese food. And so in the 80s, there were a ton of Japanese chefs that came over to Italy to learn Italian food, and they worked in restaurants all over the place. We had restaurant friends who had this stagiaire, you call it, and he just showed up one day on their front doorstep, and he didn't speak Italian, and they obviously didn't speak Japanese, and he just stayed, you know. And it had a huge influence on Italian food, I think. There's some people very distinctly were affected by it, some of the raw fish and that thing. But also the Japanese loved Italian food. And when you think about it, while they're so different, both cuisines like are reverent towards simplicity and quality of ingredients and almost a purity to what they do. I'm always like trying to put a piece of raw fish on the plate and put salt and olive oil on it. And my chef's like, maybe a couple more things, Sarah, you know? Like, oh yeah, right, maybe.
I think because you were in the book that we put out last year about the Insider's Guide to Midcoast Maine. So I had a chance to sit with you and talk. And I remember you saying that salt and olive oil were you love keeping it simple.
Right.
And it's so rich. It can be so rich.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I really admire Alice Waters and everything she's done. And she's the queen of serving you a perfect peach in a bowl that you have to peel and cut. But the peach is perfect. And it's almost, to me, it's a lesson I almost never tire of trying to share, that when something's really good, you don't need much else. Yeah.
I love that. I also love that because I am not gifted as a chef at all.
Right.
So anything I can do to simplify
there you
and
go,
eat something delicious.
Right. Well, fortunately, we have so much good food here in Maine. So.
And I know you do a lot to work with local farms and local fishermen.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's the way I saw people operating in Italy a million years ago. You know, the restaurants we ate in at night, you would see the chef or the owner in the morning at the little local market buying what looked good and what was going to go on the menu. And that just always made sense to me. And the very beginnings of my career, I was a chef in Boston at a pizza place called Figs, owned by Todd English. And we had small farmers markets, and there was his sous chef at the time was from California, and she and I would go to these farmers markets. And I remember clearing this guy out of his heirloom tomatoes the minute the bell rang, and and he was like, "Can you not do that?" And it's like, "No, we need them. We want them." But in the beginning, that was not something that people here were thinking about. They were thinking more about, I don't know, technique and, isn't it wonderful that we can have peas in January? but it completely changed, obviously. Like, it is the driving factor. I mean, I almost at this point think it's got to be a given if you're a good chef that you're working with local purveyors for whatever you can.
How have you seen the food scene shift over the last 10 years in the Midcoast?
Well, it just keeps growing, right? I always think, how much can it support or how much, but it just keeps growing. Like, we have the place at the Youngtown Inn. That was kind of a weird place, frozen in time. You've got Winona's going on. Long Grain moved, got bigger. This whole place got, Alna General Store down there in the middle of, I say nowhere. I'm sure they'll get cross with me for saying that. But it's fascinating to me, even Portland, I remember meeting years ago with Sam Haywood because I was interested in opening and I was talking with him about it. And he's like, I don't know how many more places Portland can, support. And yet apparently eating out is it's a pastime right now. And I think, you kind of hear this in New York too, like nobody cooks at home. I cook at home, actually.
Okay. What's your favorite dish to cook at home?
We cook really simply, and often, frankly, if I can, I make some Chinese food. But really, 9 times out of 10, I make stir fry. Okay. Like leftover rice, some kind of protein, greens, and all the Asian condiments.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
I'm always so curious what a chef has in their fridge.
A lot of condiments, usually.
A lot of condiments.
Right.
But I interrupted you.
Right. I do go out to eat. I live a block and a half from Albatross, and I really like Albatross.
Okay.
It's a fun, eclectic little menu. And it's a block and a half from my house. I really like that.
It's very convenient. You can't put a price on convenience.
Yeah. I came home Tuesday, and Wednesday I came home from work early, have dinner with Nadir, and I was like, I'm tired. I don't want to cook. And I was like, ooh, it's Wednesday. Like, I could go to Suzuki in Rockland or I could go to Sammy's. And I was like, I don't want to drive all that way, right? Like, I'm so really jet lagged. So we went to Long Grain, which I also almost never get to go to because that's the really challenging thing. We're all on the same schedule. There are very few places that open Sunday and Monday, I feel like.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Those are the days that we call Camden House of Pizza.
Yes,
I get chicken fingers locally.
Right.
That's our spot.
Yeah.
I mentioned how you have olive oil and salt that you use to flavor your food, but you also have an olive grove.
Right. So, we bought this house my family bought this house in 1971. They redid it. We lived in Rome for a long time. It was very much, I spent summers up there, weekends, all of that. I went back in my 30s and lived and worked in Florence, and I would go back to the house on my one day off a week. At a certain point, my mother, who's a olive oil expert and a Mediterranean diet expert and writes cookbooks mostly about the Mediterranean diet and olive oil, she was really struggling with something to do. The forest kept kind of creeping in on the land, and it wasn't being used agriculturally at all anymore because so much of that had changed. And what was she going to do? At one point, she was trying to convince my neighbors to grow beans on the back field, and we're going to create the Tuscan organic beans, but beans are kind of a lot of work. And then she didn't stumble, it's sort of the penny dropped. And so she planted 150 olive trees in 1995. And by about 2005, 2007, they were starting to bear fruit. My son was born in 2007. I took him over. It was the first real harvest we had, where I think we actually took our olives down to the mill and had enough to get pressed and all of that. And so that just started, I started going every year to do the olive harvest, and it slowly, it goes up and down. But a couple of years ago, we got 120 liters of olive oil, which is way more than anybody can use in the family. And I started using it at the restaurant and selling it. This past year, we only got 40 liters. So that's, it's a huge swing. But it's like this thing,
I think it's so neat that both you and Susie Barnes at Dots have olive orchards.
Yes.
Is that what they're called? Olive orchards? Or?
Olive groves.
Okay.
Groves.
Thank you. And you both bring olive oil back to, and as the crow flies, how far is Nina June from Dots?
Not very.
A couple miles.
Right.
It's just, the Midcoast is so special. And
yes.
I think I discover how special it is a little bit more every conversation I have with people in the Midcoast. My grandfather grew up in Waldoboro.
Okay.
And so I have family there, but they're, my family.
Right.
And not interesting to me.
Right. Well, for a long time, I also, I have this Maine family that goes back generations. And God, when I was a teenager here, they were almost embarrassing to me. And you didn't really think about, again, I didn't really grow up with them. I certainly knew them, but you're not like, oh, that was so cool. My grandfather grew his own vegetables until he couldn't anymore, That's a cool thing. But yeah.
I can grow a garden of vegetables. My grandfather grew up on a farm here. And so we lived with them till I was 5 years old. And I would spend all summer harvesting and planting the garden.
See, that I'm a terrible gardener.
Oh, okay. So we would make a good team.
Right.
But my mom is probably one of the worst cooks. And I love her. She's great at lots of other things. But cooking wasn't one of them. So I remember just as a child, when she had to cook, and it wasn't my grandmother and my grandfather from the garden, she would be like frozen lima beans.
Right.
And like the cheapest poultry at Hannaford, which was shop and save back then.
Right.
And I was like, food isn't really that good.
Right.
And then I moved to the Midcoast. And because I lived in Boston for a little bit when I was younger.
Right.
Couldn't afford to go out to any nice restaurants.
Right.
Lived on the seacoast of New Hampshire. New Hampshire really doesn't do food very well. And then I moved to the Midcoast and immediately gained 45 pounds because everything that people make here is good.
Right.
Good.
Well, I think, it attracts people because of all the farms and the seafood and, and then you have a receptive clientele. It's almost, I remember, I think it was Miyake when he first moved up and he moved out of New York. And Damien Sampsonetti at Cheval moved up out of New York. And I was like, what's going on, So when I was, 20, I couldn't wait to shake the dust of Maine from my feet.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But then it has a way, the hooks last and last until they yank you back.
And, when I lived in New York, and New York is an exciting, fun, dynamic place, and there's all kinds of, I had a great time in New York for a long time, but I would come back from Italy and I would just be like, this is so ugly. And I don't feel like that anymore. I come back from Italy and, once I get past Route 1 outside of the airport, it's like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
And you have one of the most gorgeous views in the summer when you're able to open that back deck.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
There's not. It's really, I wish I owned it.
But you have infused yourself in it with those colorful pots, and there's just flowers for days.
Right. Well, I gave it up to a gardener at one point, and she was like, oh, this is really hard, and let's do it this way, and this is going to be so much easier and so much better. And then it just kind of lost. I want it to feel like an Italian, a weird ass Italian garden that you just stumbled into. And I think we succeed.
Yeah. It's the first time I went there, it took my breath away. It's just an experience even without knowing what I was going to eat there. I just wanted to be in your space.
Right.
You've created something so special. One thing that I haven't brought up yet is you have 2 cookbooks that you have done over what is the time difference between those 2 books?
Probably 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And tell me about each of them.
Before I even had a restaurant in New York, I definitely had a reputation. And my friend Mindy Fox, who also moved to Portland, Maine from New York, she was kind of, writing about food and looking for things to do. And I was getting a lot of attention at a certain restaurant. And I knew my mom's literary agent, and we just kind of pulled it together. And there was an editor who kept coming in who loved my food and was like, I want to do your cookbook. In the end, my agent was so smart. He was like, let's do a real proposal. And then if she doesn't want it, you can sell it to somebody else. And in fact, she didn't want it, and we sold it to somebody else. So that was a process. I learned a lot. And then my mom and I think it started, we wanted to do the iPad had come out, and we kind of wanted to do a little mini iPad cookbook about pasta. And it just, again, it grew and grew and grew. So yeah.
And I'm just so curious. So Anestis from Portland Food Map is a huge fan of yours and a wealth of knowledge about food. Like I've never met anyone who understands the way food is prepared and appreciates it as richly as he does. So he was very excited when I said you were going to be on the podcast. And he was talking about your books, and he was talking about your mom being a food writer. And I, as a psychology major in college, I was like, I wonder what that was like to go into food after you watched your mom write about food. Was it a lot of pressure?
No, not at all. And, I mean, I got into food at a point where becoming a chef was still very on the, there was definitely some fabulosity going on, but it was still a very working class, blue collar kind of thing to do. And I think both my parents were a little horrified. You're doing what with your college education? But I walked into a kitchen. I mean, I had worked a little bit in kitchens, and I walked into a kitchen, and all of a sudden I was trying to be a photographer. I was struggling to be a photographer. And if I had a photo assignment, I couldn't get out of bed. And I'd get up in the morning before my kitchen shift, and I'd be reading cookbooks, and I'd come in and I'd say, what about this? What do you think of that? Let's do, And so at a certain point I realized, like, no, this is what I need to pursue. And I went at it very differently. For a long time, I would tell people, no, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. And then when I opened Porcena, somebody asked me to write an online column for The Atlantic. It was they had like for a couple of years, this online thing. They were talking about food. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I do have something to say, and I have a voice. So, yeah.
What was the most controversial thing you said?
Oh, my God. The most controversial thing I said was that you can cook with extra virgin olive oil. And these people, they were like, oh, I'd never, and so first of all, the Mediterranean is olive oil culture, and it's the fat you have. So that's really what you use. And you use the new fresh pressed stuff is what you put on your salad, and last year's stuff is what you cook with. Now, obviously, nobody's going to take a can of my olive oil or Susie Barnes olive oil and start cooking with it. But we usually have some leftover olive oil at the house. And when I go back there, that is what I cook with, because the new stuff is coming in, and that's the flavor of olive oil, the moment it's pressed, is at its best. It's spicy, it's hot, it's all over the place, it's bright green, and it's the most exciting flavor ever. And then it's just going downhill from there. Now, olive oil that's 3 years old, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's lost a lot of that flavor. And so that's why I cook, actually here, I cook with Greek extra virgin olive oil, because it's a much more affordable price point. And it is what it says it is, But yeah, people were, and I was kind of like, wow. I didn't even say you should be cooking with olive oil. I just said you can,
You almost got canceled.
Right. I was like, there were other things that I thought was much like more provocative, but yeah.
So we've been talking about all of these things, and I haven't talked much about Nina June. What do you have for advice for people who are coming in and it's their first time there? What are 3 things that they need to check out?
Well, I think, so we have a great wine list that's very affordable. I work hard to keep our wine list prices affordable, but it's also super eclectic and super all over the place. So I think people are challenged sometimes with it. Like they don't recognize a wine. And I wish that they would, instead of feeling embarrassed or something, they would just reach out to us and let us guide them. We change the menu so much all the time. I try, our most famous dish is the crab meat pasta al limone, and it's super simple. And we try to run it all summer because I do feel like there has to be something that people can remember and talk about, but then we also get really bored of it. And I'm like, but I want to make the crab pasta differently, or I want to make a different seafood pasta, and we have a small menu. And I guess to maybe understand where we're coming from, the seasonality of it all, and the simplicity. I think the simplicity is often challenging for people.
You make all the bread in-house, which is worth calling out.
Yes.
I think you and I, when we talked last, you said, I was trying to order bread for a while and it was really challenging.
Right. There's nobody up here to get bread from on a daily basis. And in my experience, even in New York, where I always brought bread from Sullivan Street Bakery, you either had too much or not enough, and you're kind of pulling your hair out, and you've spent money on it if you have too much. And I was remembering that my first restaurant in New York was a Tuscan restaurant, and we made the bread there because the Tuscans eat unsalted bread, and it was the only way we could do it. And we didn't have any fancy ovens or anything like that. And I was like, I don't have to make like world-class bread. I just have to make something decent, and solid. And it's been a deep dive for me. I was never a baker. I went over to Italy and spent 3 days with this like hero baker of mine, mastering the whole sourdough concept. And again, I don't have a great oven. And sometimes I think like, should we be doing this full time? Should we, and it's like, but we can't actually. Like, we don't have the setup for that. So,
And remind me, is it a focaccia or a sourdough?
So it depends. Some days we make focaccia and some days we make sourdough loaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love them both.
Good.
And you bring over the olive oil.
And I bring over the olive oil and yeah.
The other thing you do in-house is make the pasta. So that's really special and worth calling out. I've heard you in another interview talk about it can be challenging in the summertime when everyone wants to eat from 5:30 to 6:30.
Yes.
Which everyone in the Midcoast, places close down at 8 or 9.
Yes. When I first came up here, I was like, we'll be open till 10:30 at night. No, we won't. There are few people. I imagine within Camden, perhaps places can go a little later. We're a little out of it. And I find even at peak summer, like 8 o'clock is almost as late as I'm really seating people, maybe 8:30, but not a full turn. Like sometimes I pull my hair out. I'm like, how did we do this in New York? Like, I had 3 cooks in the kitchen. We did 120 people a night. And then I'm like, oh, but we did those people from 5:30 to 10:30 at night. And yes, there was a point where it was crowded, but I don't have that space range here.
No. I was so angry when I moved here and everything was closing so early because we would eat dinner at 8 even in New Hampshire.
Right.
And now I'm like, it's 5 o'clock.
Like,
feed me.
Here we go,
I've completely changed.
Yeah.
The Midcoast changes you.
Right. It does. It does.
Well, we're almost wrapping up. We're going to get into the lightning round in just a minute. But I want to know, for someone who comes in to 9 of June, what do you want them to take away?
I want to feel like they went to Europe for the evening, I don't want to say Italy, even though we heavily slant towards Italy, but I'm fascinated by all the countries around the Mediterranean. And I want them to really celebrate sitting at the table, which is what we really do in the Mediterranean, right? It's not just about feeding yourself and getting fueled up and out the door. It's like, no, enjoy it. Put your phone away. Talk to the people you're eating dinner with. Look out at the view.
Yeah.
Drink another bottle of wine. Have another pasta.
Great. This was so wonderful. We're going to take a break for our sponsor, and then we're getting into the lightning round.
All right.
Taking care of your home just got easier. Porch Roofing is a full-service exterior company providing roofing, gutters, exterior services, and a full repair division, all with one trusted team. Visit horchroofing.com or call 207-250-5529. Samples Shipyard in Boothbay Harbor is one of Maine's most iconic working waterfronts. They handle wooden boat restoration, modern yacht service, and everything in between. It's a place built on generations of craftsmanship. Contact them now about moorings, dockage, service, and storage. Come walk the wharf at Lyman Morse. Grab a coffee at Vacation Land, pick up a board from Camden Charcuterie, sip a cocktail at Blue Baron, and then head upstairs to Salt Wharf for dinner. And don't rush off. Stay for the sunset. It's the sunny side of Camden Harbor.
All right, and we're back.
All right.
Are you ready, Sarah?
I'm ready.
Number one ingredient you'll never compromise on.
Olive oil.
Number two, what's always in your fridge at home?
Miso.
Oh. Number three, a dish you could cook in your sleep.
Crab-made pasta limone.
4, Italy or Maine? Where do you feel most at home in the kitchen?
That's a really tough one, I have to say. I love the kitchen at my farmhouse in Italy. And that is, my brother said to me once, you cook differently here because I cook. I don't have to think about whether people are going to like the dinner, not like, are they going to order that dish? Are they going to understand it? It's just like, ooh, I went to the market and they had this, and that's what I want to eat. So.
Such a good answer. 2 more questions. 1, the most overrated food trend right now.
God, Instagram pretty?
Yes, that's very fair. And the last one, finish this sentence. Great food doesn't need.
Doesn't need fancy. Doesn't need fancy.
Perfect. Oh, this interview was absolutely delightful.
Good.
Thank
you. Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
That was
Thank
so
you.
good, Sarah.
Okay, good. I didn't trash anybody.